Yo guys, for this recording I just wanted to actually show you how to prep a session for a mix. I just want to make sure that you understand the differentiation between actually doing the mix and getting yourself ready. I kind of like to make sure that those are separate activities. I want my Pro Tools session to be organized the way I like to use it, so I can do things efficiently before I really start doing any critical analysis with the song itself. So let's take a look at this Pro Tools session. First thing I like to do is give myself as much real estate as possible. So I'm closing like this clip window and stuff that I don't necessarily need to see right now. The groups thing, just gonna get rid of that. I don't really need to see it right now. And the first thing I want to do also is just get everything on screen. So option click on the track size, and I just kind of want to fit everything on here to see what I'm working with. Alright, so we've got 23 tracks, nothing too crazy. My next step in the process is to rename the track so it's easier to sort of see what's going on now. This session in particular has pretty good track names, but there's some unnecessary stuff in there. I don't need these numbers, that sort of thing. So I'm going to go through and sort of make the adjustments that I need here. So now our session, I can easily sort of determine what it is that I'm looking at over here. That helps me out. Now I'm going to I can rearrange these things so all these tracks are in a nice place. Looks like we've already kind of got our vocals together, our guitars together, and so on. But if that wasn't the case, I could always click and drag these around and sort of rearrange things to put the groups of instruments sort of together. And then to differentiate things even further and make them easy to identify, I'm going to change the color of these tracks too. So I've got all my sort of percussion up here, from the kick trigger, snare, all the way down to the tambourine. So I'm going to click on this kick trigger track and then hold shift and then click on the tambourine, and it's going to select everything in between. And once those are selected, on the very left side of the track where you see this blue color, I'm going to double click and I can change the color of my tracks. So I'm just going to make them an even brighter blue, and then sort of mess with the saturation and the brightness. That will just saturate the color of the entire track. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'll leave this up and then I'll do the same for everything else. So I'll take my bass and my guitars and hit those all together. And let's make those like a green color. And then my vocals, we'll put leads together. Let's just put them all together. And I'll do like a red color for those. Alright, so now I can easily differentiate those things, but as long as I'm selecting these groups, I might as well actually create literally Pro Tools groups out of them. So if I maximize this left window here, while I've got a selection of tracks highlighted here, I'll Command G, a shortcut to create a group, and I'll just call this is my vocal group. I can decide when I have the group selected, what do I want it to affect? Do I want it to work together as a group to make edits, mix, or both of those things? So usually both. So since I had all those things selected, they are immediately automatically put into a group over here, and we're just naming it. But we can add other things to this group if we wanted to. So I'm going to create groups for all the guitars. Also, Command G, my guitar group. And every time I make one of those groups, it's added to this group section here in the bottom left. Okay, so what you want to make sure is after you've made these groups, you always need to realize when you have a group actually enabled by highlighting it down here, because sometimes you might be making changes to an entire group that affect all the tracks within that group, when really all you wanted to do was an individual sort of manipulation. So just be mindful of what's happening down here. A useful shortcut for you guys might be if you say we're working on your drums, but you didn't want to have all this other clutter, you can command click on the drum group. Sorry, control click. And then that just sort of only leaves you with the drums. It hides everything else. And if you want to get everything else back, you just control click on the all button. Very cool. Alright, so the final thing that I would do in prepping a mix, I've got myself pretty well organized. Sometimes you'll receive a session and all this audio is going to be chopped up in little bits. See how there's some blank spaces and stuff here. I like to consolidate everything, so I'll highlight everything. And then consolidate by going to Edit, Consolidate Clips. And it'll take a minute for a large session. But this is a really useful tool just to make things appear clean. When you give this back to a client, say, and they would take a look at their Pro Tools session, it will look nice and neat and clean and professional and like you know what you're doing, which is always a nice thing. So consolidate clips just evens everything out and creates clips even where there was silence. Excellent. Okay, last thing to do is to actually listen through to the song and place markers based on song structure.
You hold my hand as you look around.
So right there is my chorus. So I'm going, there's not really an intro to this song, so we've got verse, pre-chorus, and then chorus, where the hook happens. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we'll create markers just by hitting the plus sign in the markers area here. So right where it begins.
You hold my hand as you look around.
So here is the beginning of verse 1. And the reason why it's so important to identify the song structure is so it's easy to navigate through your session, but also sometimes we're going to be doing different things with our mix at those specific points. Specifically when we transition from a verse to a chorus, we'll do things like widen the panning a little bit and try to affect the stereo imaging, or maybe add just extra compression during the chorus to make it sound even bigger than the rest of the song. Okay, so we've got the verse. Alright, so there's my pre-chorus. It's just leading us into that chorus, the really hooky moment with the name of the song in it and all that. So pre-chorus. Pre-chorus 1. And then sometimes you can even literally see on the waveform where the chorus begins, because all of a sudden the waveforms, more starts to happen. Alright, so there's my bridge. There's a different direction for the song. Bridge. I'm probably going to jump back into a chorus back over here. Alright, so here we go, chorus 3. and usually adds a little bit on top of itself. So when you're mixing now, start thinking about how can I take a song where there's all these repetitive sections. I hear the chorus 3-4 times. How am I going to make it interesting and keep momentum to the end? So now we're fairly prepped for a mix. Save your session along the way. What I would do is at this point say like save as like mix prep. And so I know that this is a good place for me to start, and I can always go back to like my clean slate with my labeled tracks, my groups just being made. I'm ready to go. Thanks for watching. More videos to come.